the weeks prior, Jesus had been teaching and healing, and on the day before, he'd cleansed the temple by driving out the money changers. The scene begins today with Jesus and his disciples walking back into the city. He sees a fig tree that's not bearing figs, so he curses the tree, and it withers and dies. This sets the scene for Jesus' words to the religious leaders. When Jesus arrives in the city, he's immediately confronted by the temple leaders and in the temple court, and they ask Jesus a very important question. By what authority are you doing these things? Who gave you this authority? Two questions asking the very same thing. In response, Jesus tells two stories. The first about two sons who were asked by their father to go and work in the vineyard. And the first son refused, but later had a change of heart and he went to work. The second son agreed, but he did not go. The question is, Jesus responded, which son did the will of the Father? Then Jesus tells a second story about a man who owns a vineyard and moved to another country. He sent his servants to go get his fruit, but the tenants of the vineyard attacked the servants, beating one, killing one, and stoning one. The owner tried a second time, and the tenants responded in the same way. And so the owner decided to send his son, thinking they will respect his son. However, the tenants responded by plotting to kill the son so they could have his inheritance. So they killed the owner's son, threw him out of the vineyard, and Jesus concluded the story with a question. What will the owner do to the tenants when he returns? So both stories focus on authority. He concludes each story with a question which forces the leaders to testify against themselves. In these stories, Jesus is showing that his authority comes from the Father, from God himself, not from man. He's also showing them that by rejecting his authority, they are rejecting the Father and will therefore face judgment. He not only has authority over the religious system, he has authority over all things. He has authority over people and even over nature, as we see in the cursing of the fig tree. Well, as we approach this Easter season, it's important for us to ask ourselves a similar question. Do we recognize Jesus' authority? The quick answer is certainly. We know that Jesus is the Son of God. We know of his death, burial, and resurrection. We know he will judge the nations. But the deeper question is, do we recognize his authority in our own lives? Are we willing to be obedient to what he says? Are we willing to lay down our lives, our hopes, our dreams, our plans, if that is Jesus' will for us? Do you truly recognize his authority in your life? I know I still have a long way to go on that one.